Hey everyone! Welcome to this explainer for the Medicine Diary. Today, we're diving into the complete medical breakdown of Zandoriah, or you might know it by its generic name, teriparatide. We're going to cut right through the medical jargon and get straight to the facts, exactly how this injection works, who it's for, the precise dosage rules, and of course the side effects, all drawn directly from the latest clinical data.
But let's kick things off with a pretty shocking reality check. 71%. That is the staggering number of eligible women who are walking around right now completely untreated for osteoporosis. It's kind of like a silent crisis, right? Over in Europe and the UK, this structural failure of the bone is linked to roughly 4.3 million fragility fractures every single year. So this isn't just about getting older. This is about a severe risk of debilitating breaks that literally cost healthcare systems billions.
And that brings us to exactly how we combat this crisis. Enter Zandoriah. It's a biosimilar medication recently greenlit by the European Medicines Agency, the EMA. It comes in this very specific 20 microgram pre-filled pen. But here's the real question. What makes this biological medicine any different from, say, your standard calcium pills or the traditional bone meds you might already be used to?
Okay, let's dive right into this and look at its primary job. What does it actually do? Well, traditional treatments mostly play defense. They slow down the natural rate of bone loss to try and keep whatever bone density you already have. Zandoriah, totally different ballgame. It actually contains a synthetic version of human parathyroid hormone. So instead of just stopping bone loss, it goes on the offense. It actively targets your osteoblasts. Those are the specific cells in your body whose entire job is building new bone. It's an anabolic agent, meaning it literally grows new, stronger bone tissue from scratch.
So who is this actually for? The approved indications are highly specific. Basically, doctors prescribe Zandoriah for adults at a very high risk of fractures. We're talking postmenopausal women with osteoporosis and men who are at a significantly increased risk of breaking a bone. Oh, and it's also uniquely prescribed for both men and women dealing with osteoporosis caused by sustained glucocorticoid therapy. That's the type of long-term steroid treatment that can really wreak havoc on your skeletal structure over time.
Now, if you or a loved one falls into one of those high-risk groups, listen up, because the daily administration rules are incredibly strict. It's a simple three-step process, but you've got to get it right. Step 1, visually inspect the liquid. It needs to be completely clear and colorless, no exceptions. Step 2, administer a 20 microgram subcutaneous injection. That just means it goes right under the fatty layer of the skin, usually in the thigh or the abdomen. And step 3, this one is absolutely crucial for your safety. You must sit or lie down immediately after your first few doses. Hold that thought because we're going to explain exactly why in just a second.
Another massive dosage rule revolves around the timeline: 24 months. That is the absolute maximum lifetime duration for this specific treatment. Seriously, you should never repeat this 2-year course in your lifetime. Because teriparatide alters your bone metabolism so powerfully, it's designed to be a highly targeted temporary intervention to rapidly rebuild strength. It is not a lifelong regimen.
So the crucial point here is how you're actually handling this medication at home. The biology of this drug is super sensitive. It absolutely must be stored in a fridge between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius at all times. And whatever you do not freeze it. Plus, you have to toss the pen exactly 28 days after your first use. Even if you look at it and see perfectly clear medicine still left inside. Doesn't matter. After 28 days, it's no longer guaranteed to be sterile or effective, so you just have to throw it away safely.
All right, let's talk side effects. What can you actually expect when taking this? Looking at the clinical trials, the most common side effects are things like limb pain, nausea, headache, and dizziness or feeling lightheaded. You might also get some mild injection site reactions. You know, a little bruising, swelling, redness, or itching right where the needle went in. These localized reactions are super common, usually pretty minor, and they tend to clear up on their own quickly.
But hey, remember that super specific instruction to sit down right after injecting? That is because of a reaction known as orthostatic hypotension. Basically, it's a sudden temporary drop in blood pressure that hits when you stand up from sitting or lying down. Within the first 4 hours of taking Zandoriah, some patients get suddenly dizzy or feel like they might faint. By just sitting or lying down immediately, you're protecting yourself from a potential fall until that weird sensation passes.
Now let's pivot to the severe warnings, and this requires your absolute attention. Teriparatide actually ramps up how much calcium your body absorbs. That can lead to hypercalcemia, which is dangerously high blood calcium levels.
If you start feeling extreme muscle weakness, a total lack of energy, or persistent constipation, you need to call your doctor immediately. Also, you should absolutely never use Zandoriah if you have Paget's disease, bone cancer, or if you're a pediatric or growing young adult. Their bones are still actively developing, so it's a huge no-go. Now, to give you a truly complete and transparent medical breakdown, we have to look at the broader regulatory landscape here. See, Zandoriah recently got a positive marketing authorization from the EMA based on data showing it's comparable in quality, safety, and efficacy to the original reference drug, Forsteo. However, it's really important to note that there is an ongoing, active scientific discussion in the academic community right now regarding the clinical trials connected to its Iranian manufacturer, Synogen, and its subsidiary.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how complex modern medical research actually is. Independent analysts use some really strict trustworthiness frameworks to systematically evaluate 23 randomized controlled trials linked to the manufacturer. This independent study, which was published on the preprint server archive, applied a very rigorous, objective lens to the clinical operations surrounding where this drug originated.
To report this entirely impartially, the independent researchers flagged 180 potential issues across these trials. They found statistical and arithmetic anomalies, basically reported data that mathematically shouldn't be possible. The author of the study even coined the term clinical trial engineering, suggesting that the statistical analyses might have been engineered for regulatory approval. Their main recommendation? That regulators independently verify the raw patient data. Now, as of right now, the EMA authorization totally stands based on their own thorough assessments, but this entire situation really highlights just how rigorous and ongoing scientific scrutiny is when it comes to biologics.
Ultimately, the main thing you should take away from all of this is that navigating osteoporosis treatment absolutely requires strict medical supervision. As for the price, well, country-level availability and out-of-pocket costs vary wildly based on local regulations, so your local pharmacy is your absolute best bet for exact pricing. But the bottom line is that safe medicine use relies on following your doctor's exact instructions and getting those regular blood tests to monitor your calcium. Never, ever start or stop this medication without professional guidance.
We really hope this explainer has empowered you with a clear, balanced, and highly focused understanding of Zandoriah. With biological medications getting as complex as the conditions they treat, it kind of begs the question, how much should we as patients actually understand about the data behind our prescriptions? Knowledge really is your best defense when it comes to your health.